25. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Brother, you expected restoration to come after the fighting stopped, after the pressure lifted, after the attacks ended, after life slowed down. But God surprised you. He began restoring you. In the middle of the war, this wasn't the season where everything became calm. You were still fighting, still facing resistance, still walking through uncertainty, still carrying responsibility, still dealing with opposition. Yet something changed. Not outside you, inside you. You began to heal. While still standing, your heart softened without becoming weak. Your spirit steadied without becoming passive. Your joy returned without circumstances improving. That's when you realized God doesn't need peace around you to create peace within you. Psalm 23:5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Brother, this scripture stopped being poetry and became experience. God didn't remove your enemies. He fed you in front of them. He didn't pause the war. He restored your strength during it. You stopped waiting for one day and started living now. The bitterness faded. The anger loosened. The wounds stopped bleeding. The heaviness lifted. Not because the battle ended, but because God entered it differently. You didn't feel rushed anymore. You didn't feel desperate anymore. You didn't feel broken anymore. You felt whole in the middle of chaos. That's divine restoration. Isaiah 61:3. To give them beauty for ashes. Brother, your ashes weren't gone. They were still around you. But God placed beauty on top of them. He didn't erase your scars. He redeemed them. He didn't remove your memories. He healed their power over you. He didn't rewrite your story. He restored your soul inside it. This restoration didn't make you loud. It made you secure. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need validation. You didn't need explanations. You needed wholeness. And God gave it to you right where you were standing. Isaiah 40:31. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Brother, the war didn't stop, but you changed. The same pressure surrounded you. The same responsibilities weighed on you. The same enemies watched you. The same uncertainty remained. Yet your spine straightened, your breath steadied, your heart grew calm. Because restoration doesn't always remove the battle. Sometimes it returns your strength inside it. You stopped waking up exhausted by fear. You stopped dragging yesterday's pain into today. You stopped bleeding from wounds that no longer deserved your energy. God didn't give you borrowed strength. He gave you renewed strength. The kind that doesn't rush. The kind that doesn't panic. The kind that doesn't break under delay. Psalm 66:12. We went through fire and water, but you brought us to a place of abundance. Brother, you went through fire, and you didn't burn. You went through water, and you didn't drown. You didn't escape the trial. You outgrew it. That's when you noticed something holy. Your reactions changed. Where anger once rose, wisdom answered. Where fear once controlled you, discernment took over. Where exhaustion once ruled you, patience carried you forward. This was not emotional strength. This was spiritual reinforcement. God fortified the places where the war hit hardest. He strengthened your boundaries. He sharpened your discernment. He steadied your emotions. He rebuilt your confidence. He quieted your need to prove anything. You stopped fighting to survive. You started fighting with authority. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Brother, your weakness became a doorway, not for shame, but for power. The places where you once broke became the places God strengthened first. You didn't become invincible. You became supported, and supported warriors last. You learned how to fight without burning yourself out, how to stand without clenching your teeth, how to move forward without dragging bitterness behind you. You weren't rushing anymore. You weren't forcing outcomes. You weren't chasing closure. You trusted the process because God was restoring you, step by step. This is the kind of strength that doesn't show off. It shows up. Day after day, battle after battle, storm after storm, and the war noticed. Psalm 66, 10-12. For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver. Brother, you didn't just survive the war. You were refined by it. While the battle continued, God was shaping a man who no longer looked like the one who entered the fight. You didn't notice the change at first. Refinement never announces itself. It happens quietly. Between prayers, between decisions, between battles you no longer fear. You became calmer without becoming careless, stronger without becoming harsh, confident without becoming proud. That's when you realized something sacred. The war didn't destroy you. It introduced you to who you really are. James 1:2-4. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete. Brother, the man who once panicked now pauses. The man who once reacted now discerns. The man who once needed approval now walks in obedience. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped chasing validation. You stopped fighting battles God never assigned you, because restoration gave you clarity, and clarity is dangerous to confusion. You no longer confuse noise with direction. You no longer confuse pressure with purpose. You no longer confuse urgency with calling. God refined your vision while the war tried to blind you. Psalm 18:35. You stooped down to make me great. Brother, this greatness didn't come from elevation. It came from endurance. You stayed when quitting would have been easier. You trusted when doubt screamed louder. You obeyed when reward was delayed. You stood when the ground shook. And God noticed, not the applause of men, but the approval of heaven. Now you fight differently. You don't rush. You don't overextend. You don't fight emotionally. You fight with wisdom, with discernment, with peace, with authority. You fight knowing God is not behind you shouting. He is beside you advancing. Romans 8:37. In all these things we are more than conquerors. Brother, you are not restored because the war ended. You are restored because the war no longer owns you. You walk through pressure without losing yourself. You face resistance without losing your peace. You endure storms without losing direction. That is the mark of a man restored by God. This is how warfare ends. Not with silence, not with escape, not with retreat, but with a man standing in the middle of battle, whole, steady, clear, unshaken, carrying scars that no longer bleed and strength that cannot be taken.